And here we go. We're live.
We are live.
We most certainly are. On Monday, June the 30th, 2025. I have to tell you, you know what's interesting to me. What's been kind of what's always been fun to me for me.
What are you finding interesting and fun?
Well, I meant fun, but
Oh, okay.
I think I mixed those words up a little bit. But oh well.
That's all right.
So I've always wanted to have a setup of I always liked the idea of being live on the air because it's always been a very interesting concept to me. It's always been a very fun concept, and I don't know. I just like the idea of being live.
I can understand that. There's something more organic about it. There's something more, I guess, raw. Whatever little imperfections there are, they're just there. Nothing's particularly polished. Of course, nothing's edited.
No, and I mean typically that's really what um my sort of idea is too. Like I've always I think because see I used to because see the thing is I used to like a lot of talk radio back in the day,
Hmm.
and I always sort of found it very I always liked this idea of being live and getting all the perspectives. Now I don't listen to talk radio anymore much. I used to for the last few. I used to up until a couple of months, up until recently.
Is there anything particular that kind of changed that for you as to why you don't, or
Yes.
just okay?
Well, I just don't. I just first of all, it's the same bunch of callers calling in, and it's just a lot of them really aren't experts in the subjects. It's like they're just calling in about their just giving their hot takes.
That's true. Yeah.
And I'm just not a fan of it anymore. And I would rather listen to, say, a 30-minute podcast or something on news or whatever, where I'm going to get what I need to know, and that's it.
I think maybe you just hit the nail on the head as to why the whole landscape has changed in
Oh,
general.
yes. Oh, absolutely. And hey, and we'll be able to talk about that too as well sometime.
For sure, there's always lots to talk about. That'd be a great
Oh,
topic.
yeah. Maybe an idea could be, maybe an idea could be um, Valerie Geller's book.
Ah, I remember you reading that one.
Yeah, yeah. You were keeping up to date with my progress on that one.
As always.
I like that.
Well, that's what we do here.
Oh, absolutely, it is. So there you go. Let's talk about today's books. Let's kind of start with whichever one you want.
Let's do it. We can take the high road first today. We started with the other one last week, so we can start with high road leadership.
Yeah, tell us your thoughts.
That's it's pretty good. I've gotten a bit deeper into it. So he was just kind of describing the last two chapters I went into were more about generosity and the various forms that that can take, not just in the financial sense, being generous with your time, being generous about extending opportunities to people, connections and things. And now I'm sort of getting into this idea that he's presenting about placing others above your own agenda, still valuing your goals and your how you're going to intend to get there, but placing others and placing connecting with others and interacting sort of above those things. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one.
Yeah, for me, that's the that's sort of the that's sort of the lesson that, not lesson, but that's really what the takeaway is from the book. Even if you haven't read it, or even if you've only gotten through a little bit of it, that's the key takeaway.
That is true. I agree with you. I think there are a few key takeaways because I think what it appears his intention is in each chapter is for each chapter to be its own key takeaway, kind of. But I I can definitely understand how that's a big one that sort of is overarching in the entire thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I mean, it's always one of those sort of situation that um, that's always kind of like it's a bit of a it's almost a catch 22 where there are different sort of concepts that he's presenting in each chapter,
Mm-hmm. What?
and
Oh, my
no, go
apologies.
ahead, please.
I was just going to ask what makes it a catch-22 in your opinion.
Well, as far as what the key takeaways are, or what the key takeaway is, right? Because there are different messages there in each chapter.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that there are too many?
Um, I'm not sure if I would say there are too many, but there's one key one there that which we just kind of touched on.
About the connections and
Yes.
placing that above other things kind of as priority in a sense.
Yep. Now, even connection, though, I mean, it means like I mean, it means different things too.
That is true.
Like the interpretation of it.
Hmm.
As a matter of fact, um, you know, now, if you are listening, what what have you, if even if you have or haven't read the book, what is your interpretation of the messaging in the book based on what we have just shared here? There are many ways to submit your comments, and which we will get to at the end of the show. So stick around for that.
Certainly, even if it's just something like, what is your interpretation of the word connection? What does that mean to you?
Oh, you just took that right out of my head. I was just thinking that.
But of course, the messaging of the entire book is a good one too. But since we're talking about different interpretations of connection, that would kind of be, I'd be interested to see what different perspectives are, since we also talked about different perspectives a little earlier. You see, we're bringing it back around.
Oh, we are, aren't we? Yes, let us know your thoughts.
Please.
You've heard what we have to say. Now it's your turn to chime in on what you feel the word connection means. That, you know what? Let's make, you know what? How about that be the poll question today, or for
It's a
the
good
week?
one.
Yeah,
I
let's
like
put,
that one.
yeah, put that in the, yeah, let's put that in the poll today.
Sure.
And maybe we'll come up with one for our next book as well, right here on the next. So there might be, two for you.
There might be, yeah, one for each book,
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah. So now we're gonna go there. Unless
Okay,
you still go ahead, please.
would you like to start us off with this one? I started us off with the last one. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, for me, it's an interesting sort of thing because of all the twists that it has in it, and it 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 gets in, like, for me, I feel like the takeaways of it, like, there are no takeaways in there, but it goes all over the place as to um it talks about the main characters doing all sorts of things, and some kind of dangerous things too. But then it sort of thinks about, but then, as we've talked about, like, on previous shows, that it's just comes back around to that that these things do happen in society. So it's just one of those things where um I've kind of that's sort of been my thought process throughout, that yes, this does happen. So you see where you see how the journey of the book is for you.
It does feel like a journey, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What to you do you mean by sort of the journey of the book?
In the sense that how it starts, where it's at, and what the ending will be. Now, I'm about halfway through.
Okay, interesting.
Now, I'd like to ask you what your thoughts are on it.
I think I'm actually in the exact same spot as you are because I could see where your last update was, and not even intentionally, but where I ended up after doing some more between yesterday and today, I ended up in the same spot. And I I have enjoyed revisiting this one quite a lot because it's such a cool book and it's so neat in the way that it's performed as an audiobook and the way that, and we've talked about this separately at a different time, but how it feels so alive in a way and how you feel like you're right in that moment because of the way it's narrated, because of the way it's
Yes.
written. And that still remains true. And I think it actually is more true now because I forgot how much more it sort of clicks into place, if you will, when the characters all meet up. Like, it started out with you're talking about the formation of this band, you're talking about how they kind of form the band, how they start to rise to popularity. And you're sort of talking about Daisy Jones as a character who is existing alongside them, but they don't really cross paths at first. But now, when she's joining that band and when they're talking about sort of the first time that she performs a full show with them, and now how they're trying to write another album, it really clicks into place when you start to have the I guess you could call it a bit of a conflict between her and the sort of front man of the band, Billy, trying to write together and clashing in a lot of ways as people, as creatives. And I think for me, while there's not, as you said, I agree with you in that there's no real takeaway of the book itself. I don't necessarily think it's that kind of book where it's trying for anything like that, but it's a lot about wanting creative control and wanting to make something or to be in that space where, and I think there's even a little part where they talk about connection with their audience and they talk about how it's not just about the music and it's not just the words, it's about having a crowd there and having them interact or respond to what they're what they've created.
Yeah, that's where the main sort of clashing is, isn't it? Where they're trying to work together, Billy and you've got Daisy Jones kind of working together, and because they're sort of like the opposite, like they kind of like in terms of a lot of that, they just kind of clash, don't they?
They're clearly both really strong personalities with their own very firm convictions.
Yep, that's yeah.
And while that's important to them as individuals, and that's important to them being able to do what they do, it doesn't really work in the sense of a collaborative process.
No.
But the whole thing is just so, it's such an interesting experience. And I wonder at times, because of course, books come in different formats, as does this one. And I wonder if you'd almost lose something if you were to engage with this one in a print format.
Wow, that you know what? That that's very interesting. Maybe you know what? I think it's either it could go both ways. Maybe you would and maybe you wouldn't depending on because some books like this one are presented so well in as audio.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm the one that will answer that question,
Hmm.
and there's another poll question here, and but you know what? I'm gonna give my I'm gonna answer it, and then I'll let you answer it, and then we will put it out to you out there.
Let's do it.
So I would say yes. There is something that very well could be that is very well or that could be very well lost when reading the print version. I don't know what it is, but there might be something. There is something to that.
Yeah, I like the way that you put that, that it's sort of this thing that you can't necessarily define clearly that you lose.
Yeah, that's really the so yeah. So if you know so and you can answer this question if you have read the book or if even if you haven't read it. We can sort of you can sort of you know share your perspective on it if you'd like. If you'd like to share or take part in the poll questions, absolutely. There's no, yeah, you know, there's no pressure.
No, it would be very cool to have sort of this back and forth, but there's absolutely none, of course. No
No,
pressure.
no, no. So there we go. Now we're at the point here. Where are we at now? Now we're at the point. Well, this was like, you know what? we always get into these good discussions, and this is one of the things that one of many that we certainly will will that we appreciate.
We do. Should we select a book for next week?
Yeah, feel free.
Do you have any thoughts? Anywhere you'd want to go with that?
Um, I haven't looked at my want to reads quite yet. Again, that is.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm actually, you know what? If you want to pick something, I'm more than open to that.
To tell you the truth, I haven't quite looked at our list or either of our want to read shelves lately either. I haven't taken a second sort of glance through them. So titles are currently escaping me just a bit.
Oh yeah, me too. Now we could, if you want, we could do Valerie Geller's book.
You know what? Why don't we go that way? We started talking about it at the top of the show. We can we can do that.
Absolutely, there you go. And it is on Audible as well, so feel free to feel free to check it out. A link to that there, and we will be happy to check that out too.
For sure. And it's called, if I'm remembering correctly, Beyond Powerful Radio.
Beyond Powerful. That's yes.
Excellent. Just so we can put that out there too, so people know what title they're looking for if
Yeah.
they should fancy picking that up as well.
There's also another addition to that as well. It's not an audio yet, but there is a new addition to that. Um, but the, um, but the one that's on Audible is the one we want. Yeah, I forgot that was the title of it. I appreciate you reminding me of that.
Yeah, no worries. And you got a chance to chat with Valerie Geller a while back, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. So we can put a link to that so as well.
We should. We will definitely do that, and people should absolutely go check that out if they want to.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Now we're at the point in the show
Where we tell you where you can find us.
where can they find us? Where can they contact us? Where can
Well,
you find us? That's the important question.
that is the important question. In addition to the other questions we've asked you today, that one is important as well. We've got a lot of different places. You can use the Discord, Ali and Makara's books, just to chat over there, or you can find the updates there. You can put recommendations. You can answer these questions that we've posed to you there. There's a spot for that now, too. We've got the YouTube, Ali and Makara's books. Maybe you're listening live there. Maybe you're catching it on the replay. But that is a really good place. Like, comment, subscribe. We have the website, aliandmacarasbooks.ca, for the updates when they first go out. That's the first place. So you definitely want to check that out. All of the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, TuneIn, iHeart, anywhere you can think of, we're probably there. Spotify, did I say Spotify?
I don't know if we're on Pocket Casts yet, but we'll get there.
We will get there. We absolutely will. So check us out, any of those places, all those places. It'd be great. Heck, even if you enjoy what we've got here and you want to share it with people you think would also enjoy that, that would be awesome.
Yes, and I believe we have emails now too.
We do. We do have emails specific to this website. Want to share yours?
Absolutely. Oh, you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, so you can send a note here. You can to Ali Musa at aliandmacarusbooks.ca, ALIMOOSA at aliandmacarusbooks.ca.
And mine is Makara Slobodian at aliandmacarusbooks.ca. So that's MAC.
And there's a dot
AR.
between the two of that, actually.
There is, yeah, MACARA dot SLOBODIAN at aliandmacarusbooks.ca. Long handle, but we'd love to see your notes.
Yep. And of course, yes, and we are always, you know what, we are always available. We are always available to you in whichever way that you want to connect with us. The um, one thing that we do ask is no hate mail, please.
Yeah, we would prefer
No
not
hate mail.
to.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. No, none of that.
And we will extend an early Happy Canada Day to our Canadian listeners.
Yes. And even on, yes, Happy Canada Day to each and every one of you out there in Canada. And we always appreciate. It's almost been a couple of months since we've been doing this show, and this is honestly it's very very powerful as well, and also we and it's always exciting. Yes, always exciting, and it's been, there's a lot to be thankful for on this Canada Day, and that is certainly where we sit today.
That is absolutely where we sit. And we hope that you will find things to be thankful for, appreciative of on this Canada Day as well. And we will be back here next Monday on July the 7th at the same time. So stay tuned.